crazy to think about, Patrick, that we're talking about the mid-80s after the winter that we had.
And just not too far away. Look at that, 102 just off to our west. It's a long, far cry from the polar vortex of this winter.
We had several moments of polar vortex, and you know, it's always there, but it became such a big thing this year. So let's find and talk to the guy who started it all.
Now, meteorologists call it a polar vortex. Polar vortex? Polar vortex. Polar vortex.
Bitter cold temperatures crippled the country this winter. It was one of the coldest on record in parts of the Midwest. And somehow saying this
polar vortex
made us feel just a little bit better. So how did this trend get started?
I mean, it's been around for a long time.
Yes.
I mean, it really took off after you mentioned it on air.
I'm kind of surprised. I don't quite know why. I've mentioned it before.
Roker on the Today Show used the term, and then it was like a shiny new toy. The polar vortex is always there. It's there right now, even though it's so warm here. It's all up by the North Pole. It's an area of very cold air. But sometimes in the winter, and it happened several times this winter, the jet stream dips and a piece of that polar vortex breaks off and it plunges to the south, and very frigid air dips down into our area and also into the Great Lakes region, and then it moves off toward the northeast. But why was the polar vortex, that word, so popular?
But for some reason, I think because it was just such a brutal winter, I think people were looking for any reason. Why is this happening to us?
And finally, after what seemed like forever, the polar vortex, I hate saying that. I don't have to hear those two words until next winter.
High five.
Exactly, high five.
I know how you don't like when we talk about the polar vortex, so instead we just got you this shirt that says, "I survived the polar vortex."
I love it.
And now, appropriately enough, we're back in another polar vortex.
Look, Patrick, I really like the shirt. I really like the shirt.
You kept the shirt. I thought for sure you would have burned it by now.
No, I kept it because I think it's funny, and now that it's over, I can laugh about it.
What do you mean it's over? I thought it's always up there in the Arctic.
I don't have to hear it.
You don't have to hear about it down here. That's true. So we're not going to talk about the polar vortex here till next winter, but now we've got the solar vortex.
Oh dear.
How about that?
And it's